Hey Facebook, how are you? If you do not know me, my name is Sarah and I am an exercise physiologist, but I specialize in helping people find their healthy balance between exercise, nutrition, and time with their family. So, first and foremost, I want to thank you all for joining because it's Sunday night. You're probably getting the kids into bed. You're probably running around trying to get everything ready for the week. So if you're watching this live, drop a 1 in the comments. And if you're watching this on replay, go ahead and give me a hashtag after party. And, let me know how your weekend was. Beverly, how are you? Honey, I didn't think you were on Facebook anymore, girl. But yesterday I posted a video with my daughter and she was eating spinach. And I actually had to take my hoodie off because I fed her dinner and there was spinach everywhere. So in that video, I was feeding her spinach muffins, and I was telling all of you that from the start, if you incorporate healthy foods into young children's, daily nutrition, then they can learn to love it. Now, I understand not every child will maintain those taste buds, and taste buds always change, but I was just making a point that just because they're kids, it doesn't mean that we have to feed them crap. So, Nadia, how are you? I saw your sister in church today, and I think your mom was there too. So, yes. Now, I also want to hit on a point because Celia, one of my friends, had mentioned earlier today on that last video that I did, that when you do different techniques with kids, it actually helps them. So, if you're feeding them the same food, and this actually happened earlier today. So, Presley was in her high chair and I was giving her a food, like a meal that I prepared for her before that she loves. And she's had it many times. She loves it typically. Well, yesterday and today she's kind of acting a little bit like feisty when I try to feed it to her and she's acting like she doesn't want it. But I know she likes it. So she was just acting all, out of sorts. So I picked her up and I put her on the floor because I had to feed her on the floor before. Janelle, how are you? And when I feed her on the floor, typically she likes it more than when she's in the high chair for some strange reason. Well, the floor wasn't working. So she just wanted me to hold her. She just wanted mommy to hold her. So I'm holding her and I'm trying to eat my own dinner. I'm sure all of you parents can relate that you never sit down anymore when you eat. And my sister always stands up when she eats and I'm like, sit down, Angela, sit down. And now I understand. You just can't sit down. So I'm holding her. I'm trying to eat my meal and then I'm feeding her meal. She was loving every second of it because I was holding her. Now, I tried to put her back down in her chair. She didn't want any part of it. She was doing the back bend. She was doing all the fussy stuff. So I, again, had to hold her. And it's worked that way before where I had to actually feed her with my finger the entire meal. She wouldn't have it on the ground. She wouldn't have it in her high chair. But feeding it from my finger worked. So all I'm saying to you guys is persistence is key sometimes with these kids. Obviously my child is not even 9 months yet, but at least up until this point, I'm thinking that the keys are starting it from when they're young and trying different techniques. I mean, you're always trying something new. You just have to be persistent about it. Okay, but today, sorry, I get off on tangents, but today I'm giving you the recipe. We're gonna make these muffins that I made yesterday. I didn't make them, but I was feeding them to her. So the base is banana and apple and oats. And I actually make those as one recipe, but then one day I was pureeing spinach and I'm like, well, the heck with it. She likes spinach. This is a way to kind of like make it pretty, make it green, and give them a lot of nutrition. So if you guys have trouble with your little ones, let me know because I have had some people reach out to me specifically saying that their kids won't eat anything. They've tried store-bought, they've tried to make them food, and it's probably a texture thing, but drop it in the comments if you guys are struggling with your kids and let me know how old they are and what foods they will eat and what foods they won't eat. Because I'm curious if it is a texture thing or if it's a taste thing. It's just something that really I'm kind of honing into now, not only because I love nutrition for myself, but it is a struggle for parents. So I want to help if I can, it's all trial and error, but I just want to help do as many things as I can. And by making different concoctions, hopefully some kids can get some nutrition in a form that they wouldn't get if it was like a blank, you know, if it was a mushier texture or whatnot. So yeah, let me know. And if you guys find this video helpful, please share it to anyone. So if you feel like you have a lot of people on Facebook that you're friends with that have young kids that struggle and they do not have any food that they can find that their kids will eat, these are slightly sweet but naturally sweetened, all natural ingredients and packed with nutrition, because we have the spinach, we have the oats, we have fruit. So not additional sugar or anything like that. Okay, so I'm just gonna run through it really quick, and I am gonna do a blog post at some point, but you know, everyone that blogs knows it takes time. You gotta like upload the pictures, you gotta do, you know, make everything look pretty. So that's why I decided I would just go live right now for those of you that are really in a rush to make these. And I don't blame you, because they're scrumptious, I have to say. So first things first, you need to puree your spinach. So I usually make a ton of spinach at one time, but I did measure. So I took a measuring cup and I packed about 3 cups. So you guys, if you want to make this recipe, I don't know when I'm gonna get to like typing it out or blog posting it. So get a piece of paper and a pen out and jot this down as I go along. And I will tell you again the entire recipe at the end, but as I go along, I'm gonna let you know. So again, if you find this helpful, let me know. Give me a helpful in the comments. And if you guys like these demos, let me know, because I can do more of them, but I don't want to waste your time if you are annoyed. Okay, let's go. So 3 cups, I packed just your organic baby spinach, okay? So I do like the organic as opposed to just regular, just because you know it's organic, right? So about 3 cups packed, that made, so right here, I've already pureed it. This made a little more than 1/3 cup. So you don't really have to pack it so tightly, I guess. Just throw it in there, pack it slightly. So about 3 cups gives you about 1/3 cup pureed. You want to make sure you don't have a ton of water in there. And if you guys have never, so I think I'm skipping a step. For those of you that have never like pureed spinach, you want to put the baby spinach first, either in a steamer or in a pot with some water. But I use this little Pampered Chef thing, and I put just about 1 inch of water, and then I put the spinach on it. I nuked it in the microwave for about 2 minutes, and then it gets tender. So any way you can make your spinach tender, I drained almost all water out of that. So you want to have, I mean, it's going to absorb some water. So have a little bit of water in there, because when you're blending it up, you can put it in a blender or a food processor. If it seems to be breaking apart and it's not blending, just add a tiny little bit of water, but you don't want to add too much water because it's going to ruin the recipe. So you want to make sure it's nice and blended up, and it's okay if you do have some strands, it really is, but try for the most part to blend. So you'll have 1/3 cup of this, and then you're going to have, well, I'm kind of skipping around, but that's the first step. So then you want to get your apples out. 2 apples. I use Gala, however you want to say it, but medium-sized apples. They don't need to be huge. They don't need, Renee, my girl, how are you? Medium. And I have found the tastiest, I mean, you can use Honeycrisp. That would actually be good too. But what you're going to do, you are going to skin your apples. So use this little skinner, skin the entire apple, and then you're going to grate the entire apple. So use this grater and go to town on grating it. Now you want to get as much off of that apple as you can. So don't be, you know, be stingy with it. Like get every single solitary bit. But if you've never used a grater, like please be careful, because you can hurt yourself very, very easily. If you guys have ever hurt yourself on the skinner, let me know, because I have, and I kind of felt like an idiot, but I'm sure it happens to all of us. So in here I have the apple, which that's vanilla, so it hasn't browned that much yet, but it will brown, which is okay. So 2 apples grated. 2 bananas, medium bananas. Do not wait until they are dark brown. You guys, if you've never watched my post before, you know that bananas are higher on the glycemic index as they ripen. So you want to consume your bananas when they are more on the green side as opposed to the brown side. When they are brown, they are high glycemic, which means the sugar content is higher. it's digested quicker, it's gonna spike our blood sugar quicker, which means we're gonna have an insulin spike. Insulin stays elevated. We are in a fat storage zone, not a fat burning zone, okay? So that's the whole glycemic index thing should go for our children as well. It should not just be on our minds when it comes to our own health, okay? So throw in a banana. I wouldn't suggest a green banana in here because it's not going to be mashable, but I would say right on the verge of becoming brown. Throw that in there. So at this point we have 2 bananas, we have 2 apples grated, we have a cup of spinach, so I'm gonna throw that in there. And then I have 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. Okay, I don't get real particular when it comes to selecting my coconut oil. Maybe I should. If you guys know something I don't know, then drop it in the comments why I should just grab organic. I mean, I make sure it's organic, but this is what I've been using. Some of the coconut oils out there are like $15 for a little bottle, and I'm sorry, I'm frugal, so I'm not about to spend all that money. So 2 tablespoons coconut oil. And then you're gonna do a pinch of salt. I use this no salt stuff. You can use regular sea salt. It doesn't matter, but whatever you have. I just do like 2 little, sprinkles and then call it a day. Then you're gonna do your pure vanilla extract. You can go as fancy schmancy with this as you want, but obviously you know that I shop at Walmart because great value is my friend, okay? So I put 1 tablespoon of vanilla. To be honest with you, can't get enough of vanilla. So I will probably at the end of this, before I bake anything, I taste the batter. These are vegan muffins, so I don't have egg in it, so I can taste the batter. And then if I don't feel like it's sweet enough or it has enough zing, I might add a little bit more at the end. When you're measuring things like this, as you saw, I have a little bit more today of the spinach. So at the end, before I put it in the oven, if I feel like it's a little bit too spinachy, then I might start adding a couple other things. So that's the beauty of cooking yourself, but when you're baking, it's a little bit touchy because you don't want to add and take away too much because then it might change up the chemistry a little bit, and then it might not bake as well as it would have before. So, okay, so now we have the vanilla, the spinach, the 2 apples, the 2 bananas, and the coconut oil, the salt. Now we are going to do the cinnamon. So again, same thing with vanilla. I am a cinnamon-aholic. I love it, I love it, I love it. Presley does too. So in this recipe, I have a 1/2 tablespoon, okay? You can do a teaspoon and then little by little add more. If you wanna omit it, do your thing, but I've already added about a 1/2 tablespoon of cinnamon in there. And then we are gonna move on to the baking soda and baking powder. So, obviously you guys know what these 2 are. You're gonna do 3/4 a tablespoon of each. Now I know that may sound high, but when you're not using egg, that's the reason for it, okay? So 3/4 a cup for both. And you're probably asking yourselves, well, what in the world is gonna be like the binder? What is the base? Well, I'm always trying to get creative with it. Now, the original recipe has 2 things. So we are using, regardless, we're gonna use a 5-grain rolled oats, okay? So this is Bob's Red Mill. I suggest Bob's Red Mill or any organic brand that you can find. This has whole grain wheat. So if you are gluten-free, then you can get gluten-free oats. No big deal. No big deal at all. This is rye, barley, oats, flaxseed. Okay, so you get a lot of bang for your buck. Not everyone would want to use this. So again, I don't ever claim to be 100% organic, 100% gluten-free, 100% this, 100% that. I'm just giving you healthy, and I'm giving you what your kids are probably going to eat. So you're gonna do, I believe it's 1/2. Sorry, I have my recipe right here. And my girl Cecilia, Janice, you're probably going to be watching at some point. Your daughter is Miss Organization herself. That's why she's one of my best friends, because she's so good at what she does, and she loves to give me like little sheets because she knows that I cook and I need to write things down. So I love you, Cecilia, if you ever have time to watch, because I know we're all busy with our kiddos. So back to this with the rolled oats, regardless of what type you use. You can just use the Quaker oats, old-fashioned oats. I wouldn't suggest the quick oats. I would do old-fashioned, and you're gonna do 1/2 cup of those oats, okay? And that just goes in, so you're not blending these up. That just goes in, so we're gonna put those in right now. And I think I went a little cheap on those, so I'll add a little bit more. And then the flour that we're using. We are not using white flour. We are not using wheat flour. And for those of you that think wheat flour is better than white flour, think again. Just as bad, okay? Just as bad. I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, but don't think because it's wheat bread. It's very misleading, I know, because white bread is terrible, but wheat bread is not that great. You want to go for the whole grains. Grains. Wheat, you know, I mean, especially for those that are gluten-free, they got to stay away from that. Okay, so for the original recipe, oat flour is what we are going to use. So again, we have my main man, Bob's Red Mill, and this, they have a gluten-free oat flour. So my friend Cecilia, I know, is all gluten-free. So girlfriend Janice, this is what you're going to use. I know that you're waiting for this recipe. Carrie, my love, how are you? When are you coming back into my life? I miss you. I miss Chad. Whitney, thank you for watching, sweetheart. You guys are awesome for hopping on. Okay, now that is the way the recipe stands, and that's the way I've made it, okay? And in addition, now I have these things called sweet drops. Now it's a natural sweetener. They have different flavors. So there's coconut cream, there's vanilla cream, there's chocolate, there's peppermint, all these different things. And I really highly suggest this. It's great to put in coffee. But in regards to this recipe, this is vanilla cream. I think everything's backwards on here. I apologize. But Kellen, thank you for watching. Your son, you said your son's a little picky now. Rebecca, girlfriend, you might want to make these for your little angel here when she starts eating food. And Rebecca, how is your little one doing? I need to see more pictures. But so with the sweet drops, the first time that I made the recipe, I added 10 drops, okay? And they're called, he is still picky, Kellen. So you're going to squeeze it, pick it up with the dropper, and then you see here, you can't really see, yeah, you can see me dropping. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I'm putting 10 in there. It's natural. You guys can omit this if you want, but obviously the more spinach that I put in, and because I put a little bit extra in there, I don't want Presley to be like, whoa, what happened to my muffins that I loved so much, and now they taste a little funky. I love you watching my videos, Nadia. Okay, but you guys, you might think I'm crazy. I swear to you, I always try to find ways of adding fiber, adding protein, because again, for those of you that have never watched my videos, low glycemic is key. And in order to make things lower on the glycemic index, we need to add fiber, protein. Those are 2 great ways of helping out with the glycemic index and minimizing those blood sugar spikes. So garbanzo bean flour, y'all. Garbanzo bean, which is another word for chickpeas, okay? This is just ground up, dried chickpeas or garbanzo beans. So if I compare the nutritional facts of oat flour, the fat is 2 grams for both. And this is 1/4 a cup, okay? We're gonna use more in our recipe, but right here, I'm just gonna show you the difference here. So there are 2 grams fat for both. We have 18 carbs with 5 grams of fiber in the garbanzo bean flour. And then in the oat flour, we have 22 grams of carbs with only 2 grams of fiber and 3 grams of protein in the oat flour. And we have 6 grams of protein in the garbanzo bean flour. Now, any of you that have had chickpeas, you know they don't taste like anything at all, or not much of anything at all. Same thing with oat flour. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try the garbanzo bean flour. Now, if you guys just wanna go safe and you wanna make the original recipe with the oat flour, be my guest, but regardless, whatever flour you choose, you're gonna do 1 1/4 cup flour. So I will let you know after these cook today how the garbanzo bean flour tasted and how it all worked together while it was baking, because I don't know, I don't foresee it having any issues when we bake it, but who knows? Stranger things have happened, right? Okay, so I'm gonna put that in there. I don't have a spoon here. Okay, and I'm actually going to just use a masher because the masher is a little bit easier. Sometimes I try to just like use a fork, but then I'm like getting after it for a little longer than I would really want to. So I'm gonna do this real quick. And I don't think, I'm trying to remember if I used any water. Let me see here. Just because sometimes, you know, I hate, you know, before I had kids, I hated when people were like, you parents know what I'm saying. Because I'm like, well, hey, just because I'm not a parent doesn't mean my life is not crazy. I am just as busy as the next person. So I try to bite my tongue every time I say, now you parents understand. But I mean, in all reality, I mean, I got my daughter right here that I'm like doing this video and I'm like watching her stirring. I'm like, no, stay asleep. Like you kind of like turn crazy sometimes when you're like a parent. You're just trying to get everything done. And whew, if you guys are, feel like you're just like flying by the seat of your pants like I am, let me know, because I am. And I'm trying to get this done so you guys don't have to watch me mash for an hour. But thank you to those few people that have hung with me. Now, the interesting thing I'm seeing here is that they're not as green, which is interesting. They're not as green as they were with the original recipe. And it's funny because I have actually more spinach in here than I did before. But I think the reason is because the oat flour and the garbanzo bean flour are different colors and obviously different textures. And the garbanzo bean is more of a, well, you guys saw the difference. So that's the color of that. So you see that, but I mean, not terribly different, but this is what we got going on here. So it is green. It is green. But, and I think I also did not puree it as finely. So in this recipe, I have like some tiny little strands, which is totally fine. It'll all be good. But you want to make sure it's all mashed up and you don't have any huge strands, because then your baby's gonna like be gagging on spinach strands. And that's another thing. So for those of you that are questioning, because yesterday in my video, I was actually like taking pieces off and I was feeding her. Now, I've also just given her the whole muffin and she can have at it, because for those of you that have young kids and you have taken them to the pediatrician at this point, they can eat food. There's something called baby-led weaning. And they teach you that, and Presley's pediatrician from the beginning was like, hey, I don't want you to puree anything. I just want you to give her like big chunks of food and let her have at it. So I tried that, and then she started like coughing and acting like she was about to choke, so it scared me half to death. So that's why you see all the pureed food. But little by little, I'm trying to lead wean her, and these are perfect for that. So yes, all I'm gonna do now, so we're good to go. That's what it looks like. And all I'm gonna do is take my mini muffin sheet, and it's perfect because all I do, where's that little, here we go. My tablespoon, it's perfect for just scooping and then plopping it right in there, and you can just pack it like that. It's perfect. So for those of you that like are trying to like use your fingers or use a spoon, get the tablespoon out. It's so easy. And this recipe makes, I think, almost a whole tray, but I have to look because I think I wrote it down how many muffins it actually makes. Look, I got like little cheat sheets all over the place. Like, this is real life, people. I don't know. I think I'm usually like a few short. So it's like 20 muffins or something like that. I'll let you know when I actually post the main recipe. But before you put it in there, you want to spray the heck out of that sheet, because I am not going through all the trouble of doing all this and then you forgot to spray and then everything sticks and then your muffins all stick and half of the muffins left in the sheet. That's no fun. So spray, 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 drop them in there. You are going to cook on 350. I would check them at about 15 minutes, but I think last time I cooked them for 19 minutes. So you take a toothpick, stick it in the center. Now these will be slightly, so you want them to be like al dente. You want them to be somewhat, I don't want to say mushy, but the center should still be very, very tender, because this is meant to be frozen. You're going to eat, keep a couple in the fridge, of course, but as they sit and they cool, they will firm up a little bit. So you don't want to cook them to when you put, like at 19 minutes, you might check and you're like, ooh, these are really soft. I would suggest if they should stick together, just be done. Don't cook them any longer than 19 minutes. Pull them out, let them sit for at least 15 minutes, cool off, then reevaluate. And even longer, the longer they sit, the more firm they're going to be. And then after you freeze them, you want them to be that texture, because you freeze them, you nuke them in the microwave when you're ready for them. If you want them, if you want to pull it straight out of the freezer, nuke it in the microwave for about 15-20 seconds, it'll be done. Or you can pull a few out the next day or the morning or the night before and put them in your fridge, and then in the morning they'll be fine. Or let them sit out for, a day and they'll be just fine. So that's the beauty of this recipe. You can freeze a whole bunch, and I don't know if you guys can see like all the food that I have for her, but I freeze them like in these baggies. See them? And then it's perfect, because then as you want them, you just take a few out and there you go. You're ready. And yeah, she loves them. And again, you guys, I'm going to run through this real quick for those of you that just hopped on. So the spinach muffins, 2 bananas, make sure they're not brown, 2 apples, I use Gala, 1/3 cup pureed spinach, try to get it organic. And so again, that was about 3 cups firmly packed before you cooked the spinach. And then you're doing 2 tablespoons coconut oil, 3/4 cup baking soda, 3/4 cup. Did I say that before? 3/4 tablespoon. Don't do 3/4 cup. That's going to be disgusting. So 3/4 tablespoon baking soda, 3/4 tablespoon baking powder, 1 1/4 cup of your flour. So you're either doing oat flour or garbanzo bean flour. And then you're doing 1/2 cup of the rolled oats, 1 tablespoon or more of the vanilla, a pinch of salt, 1/2 tablespoon of the cinnamon, less or more to your desired taste. And then you're cooking on 350 for 19 minutes, 15 to 19 minutes. And again, if you want, because I tend to add a little bit more of the other stuff, so it's going to take away from the sweetness from the banana and the apple, I add 10 drops or more, if you want it sweeter, of the sweet drops. So is almond or coconut flour good for you? Both. Both are good for you. And the reason why, because I actually contemplated using one of the 2 instead of garbanzo bean, but I'm going to have to try that at a different time. I didn't want to go too high on the fat content in this recipe, just because I already have the coconut oil, and with baking, I don't know how that would do. So that's the only reason why I didn't throw it in there. But when I'm cooking for myself, and Janelle, this is more for children. So just so you guys know, I would not make these for myself to eat every day. I wouldn't, because they're not high glycemic, but there's not a ton of protein, and there's a good amount. I mean, for a child, there's a good amount, but they can't withstand the fiber and protein that adults can. So now I will soon be making a recipe that is more tailored towards adults, and something. So that's where I would start incorporating. So instead of using all the flours and all that stuff, I would definitely use the almond flour. That would be my main source of flour, to be honest with you. And I'd go higher on the fat content. That way we get the higher the fat and the fiber. And I would probably add, well, I don't know. I mean, I like to keep it vegan, but you could throw some eggs in there for those that are not vegan. And there's just so many fun ways of twisting things around to make them healthier. So I do plan on doing that more often. Now, I do have a group on Facebook that I need to do more of these demos with. So if you guys are interested in more demos, let me know, because I am going to start doing that with that group. And unfortunately, I can't be all over the place every single night because it's just, there's not enough time in the day, folks. So let me know what helps. And Liz, we are cooking for the children. We're doing it for the children, Liz. We're making our spinach. Did you see me with Presley yesterday? Our spinach muffins. So our little muffins that Presley was just devouring. Yes. So I am going to let y'all go because I am going to cook these, and I am curious. I am curious to see if they're going to be delicious with the garbanzo bean flour as they were with the oat flour. So I'll let you know. I may pop back on here live. I may not, but I'll let you know either way. All right. Have a good day. And remember, if you guys feel like anyone that follows you would benefit from this recipe that has small kiddos, please share, and I will talk to you very soon.